Remember those files Congress voted to legally require the Justice Department to release by December 19th of last year, and then December 19th came and went, and now it's the end of January and we still don't have them? Well, after dragging this out as long as humanly possible, the Justice Department now says it plans to release the remaining files in the near...
Before I ran for politics, I did this show many times, and he was never one of the top people. Do you remember during the Academy Awards when he read my truth just before giving out the Best Picture Award? And I said, and what he read was that he's the worst host.
What began as light, harmless entertainment slowly turned into something much sharper. Jimmy Kimmel set the mood, Arnold Schwarzenegger walked in with quiet authority, and Donald Trump found himself caught in the middle without a single voice being raised. No shouting, no chaos, just perfect timing and calm delivery. The internet exploded because viewers only realized what was happening once it was already unfolding, and by then, looking away wasn't an option.
President Trump, I just saw your press conference with President Putin, and it was embarrassing. I mean, you stood there like a little wet noodle, like a little fanboy. I mean, I was asking myself, when are you going to ask him for an autograph or for a selfie or something like that?
And they hired a big movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take my place. And we know how that turned out. It's been a total disaster.
The Apprentice when you were running for president, correct?
No, they had Arnold Schwarzenegger do it. I was involved in that, and I had an...
If you're enjoying this, take a second to subscribe. It helps more than you think. Because this moment played out like a magic trick. Applause came first. Understanding came later. No one tuned in expecting a coordinated unraveling, yet somehow a casual cultural exchange turned into something far more calculated and far more revealing.
For her resignation, but Trump today said he will not ask her to step down, which means she's done, right? I mean, she's like a puppy in a gravel pit when you say something like that. Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bovino, this clown is being sent to the bench for sure. After pulling out all the Gestapos in Minneapolis, he has been banished back to El Centro, which is a small town at the border of California, where he's expected to retire. The Department of Homeland Security also suspended his access to his own social media accounts. Do you know how bad things have to be for Donald Trump to take your social media away?
It was exposure done with surgical precision. Polite on the surface, ruthless underneath. There was no anger, no shouting, not even obvious mockery, just two people calm enough to let contradictions speak for themselves. And when the spotlight refuses to look away, that kind of silence becomes the most dangerous argument of all.
As the former governor of California, my home state, California's been in the headlines. Obviously, there have been these huge protests of President Trump's immigration policies. He threatened to potentially arrest Gavin Newsom if he didn't comply. If you were governor right now of California, how would you be handling the ongoing crisis that the state's facing?
Well, I think the most important thing is when you are in a leadership position like that, is that you are inclusive and that you work together with everybody.
At first, it looked like standard late-night entertainment. Easy laughs, familiar rhythms, the kind of setting where nothing serious is supposed to happen. But that illusion cracked the moment the conversation drifted into territory Donald Trump has spent years carefully building and fiercely defending.
Of materials and made substantial progress deleting the president's name from all of them. And how can this still be unresolved? They claim they've had agents working around the clock on this since February of last year. Who's doing the redacting of these files? This guy? I mean, he'll be done as soon as he finishes that last Game of Thrones book. So Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and her flying monkeys told federal judges that the DOJ could not provide a specific...
This time, no one challenged him head-on. No cartoon villain treatment. Instead, his mythology was handled gently, like something fragile that only needed a light tap to show how hollow it had become. Jimmy Kimmel stayed relaxed, letting irony do the work. Each transition felt casual, almost friendly, while quietly tightening the screws. The audience didn't realize they were watching a joke being assembled piece by piece until it was already complete. Then Arnold Schwarzenegger entered, carrying decades of earned authority. No posturing, no competition, just presence. And that contrast alone did more damage than any insult ever could. The real exposure lived in the pauses where confidence slipped into deflection without anyone needing to point it out.
The Constitution said that a president has to be a natural-born U.S. citizen. If not for that, would you have run for president?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, I think the field was wide open in 2016, and I think the field is open right now. I mean, think about it right now. I mean, who is there that is really a person that can bring everyone together? Who is the other day that people say, okay, he's not too old or he's not too this?
Trump has always dominated rooms with energy and certainty, but that approach collapses when no one plays along. It was like watching someone argue with a mirror that refused to flatter him. The moment felt uncomfortable because it wasn't hostile. Hostility is familiar territory. This felt more like calm curiosity, quietly revealing how much his claims rely on repetition rather than substance. Once repetition disappeared, the structure underneath began to wobble. Arnold's presence only sharpened the contrast. His success was built on discipline, accountability, and even self-criticism. Without saying it outright, he showed that real confidence doesn't need constant self-praise to feel real.
Reported Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, dropped a quiet little bombshell. She filed a petition in court that said 29 wealthy men made some kind of settlement deal in which their names wouldn't be revealed in exchange for paying money. And you know, a deal's a deal. You can't go back on it. I wonder how Trump is going to distract us from this one. Maybe start an OnlyFans? Maybe he'll add truck nuts to the Lincoln Memorial. I cannot wait to find out. These Epstein files are like Melania's movie.
As the conversation continued, the laughter changed. It wasn't about punchlines anymore. It came from recognition. Viewers realized they were watching a carefully constructed image unravel on its own. That kind of laughter feels different, less amusement, more release. Trump's persona depends on being seen as untouchable, but moments like this reveal how fragile that image becomes without reinforcement. No direct attacks, no dramatic clashes, just claims left unsupported until gravity did the rest. When no one is impressed, the performance loses its power.
You and Donald Trump have a long history together. Recently, you've had a very public feud. What is the worst thing you've heard Donald Trump say in private?
Well, actually, in private, he always was very nice. As a matter of fact, the last conversation I had with him was when he called me and asked me for my endorsement, and he ran for president. I declined. Since then, everything that he says about me or to me is on Twitter, which sucks. But in public, I think that he's very mean-spirited, what he says.
Jimmy Kimmel's humor stayed restrained, and that made it sharper. Every joke landed in the gap between what Trump says about himself and what audiences have seen for years. Arnold added another layer of discomfort by embodying leadership rooted in accountability rather than dominance. He has acknowledged mistakes, adapted, and accepted criticism without treating it as betrayal. That contrast needed no explanation. As the segments unfolded, the issue stopped being about individual claims and became about a pattern that was suddenly impossible to ignore. Without an enemy to fight, the script fell apart.
The friendly confines of Fox News today, trying to pretend that he's not pulling back in Minnesota. And for Bovino, this wasn't a demotion.
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you make little changes. Bovino's very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand, when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists.
What made this moment powerful was its simplicity. Nothing explosive happened, no meltdown, no confrontation, and yet the impact lingered. Trump was placed in a setting that didn't amplify his strengths and quietly highlighted his weaknesses. This kind of exposure is dangerous because it doesn't trigger outrage, it triggers reflection. There was no villain to blame, no hostile crowd to rally against. Even the audience shifted from loud laughter to thoughtful silence as the implications sank in. That kind of engagement is far more threatening than open opposition.
Why do you think you'd be a good president, or would have been?
Yeah, I think that I have the talent to be a good president. And I also think that I have the talent to go out and to sell that idea to the American people. Those two candidates, Trump and Biden, suck all the energy, all the oxygen out of the room when they give a press speech or do anything. So no one else has the chance of getting the exposure. And there's really no one with a big name.
By keeping everything conversational, the audience was invited to connect the dots themselves. Arnold's presence symbolized a version of success built on effort and adaptation, not constant grievance. That alone weakened Trump's foundation. The clip spread not because it was sensational, but because it felt quietly significant. Without chaos, it felt credible. And once control of the narrative slipped away, bravado had to stand on its own. It didn't.
There's a rumor making the rounds this weekend that Trump was dead because he hadn't been in front of a camera for a few days. That's how much he's in front of a camera. When we don't see him there, we assume he must be dead. And also he has mysterious bruising on his hand, which they tried to cover up with makeup. And this cover-up's even sloppier than the Epstein one. How can anyone let him go out like this?
The humor worked because it respected the audience's intelligence. No conclusions were spoon-fed. Viewers enjoyed realizing they already understood what was happening. The moment revealed how dependent Trump's image is on constant performance. When that performance paused, the illusion faded. Jimmy didn't shout. Arnold didn't flex. Both understood that real influence doesn't need volume. That quiet confidence left Trump struggling to regain footing. In a media world obsessed with spectacle, this kind of patience stood out.
You literally sold out at this press conference our intelligence community, our justice system, and worst of all, our country. You're the president of the United States. You shouldn't do that. I mean, what's the matter with you? I mean, whatever happened to the strong words or to the strength of Ronald Reagan when he stood there at the Berlin Wall and he said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. What happened to all that?
As clips circulated, reactions showed just how effective the moment had been. Even supporters struggled to label it an attack. Without hostility to push against, familiar defenses felt weak. Kimmel and Schwarzenegger didn't aim for a viral scandal, and that's exactly why they succeeded. They treated Trump not as a cartoon villain, but as someone whose contradictions spoke louder than his claims. By refusing to escalate, they changed the rules, leaving him without his usual tools. The result was unsettling because it proved that the loudest narratives can collapse under the quietest scrutiny.